afternoon sun hung low over Ravenshade, gilding the forest in soft amber light as Mira followed the winding path that led to Izek's cabin. The air smelled faintly of pine and rain-soaked earth, her boots crunching over gravel and roots. She held a small basket in her hands, a bottle of wine, a loaf of bread, and the homemade dessert she'd baked that morning, her peace offering in case his cooking experiment went horribly wrong. When she reached the cabin, smoke curled lazily from the chimney. The porch creaked under her weight, and she smiled at the sight of Izek's beloved motorbike parked beside his truck. The sound of muffled laughter carried from inside, deep, rolling voices, clattering dishes, and someone arguing over music. She knocked once. Before she could lower her hand, the door swung open to reveal Nova, her brown curls pulled into a loose braid and a knowing grin on her face. "Well, well," Nova drawled, eyes glinting mischievously. "The mysterious Mira finally joins us for dinner. Come on in before Izek burns the place down." Mira stepped inside, warmth enveloping her immediately. The cabin was just as she'd imagined, cluttered, rustic, yet cozy in its own wild way. A soft yellow glow from old lamp danced over wooden walls lined with old hunting gear, wolf carvings, and books stacked in every corner. Izek stood near the stove, sleeves rolled up, hair a bit disheveled, concentration written across his brow. The sight made her pause, this dangerous, stoic man holding a wooden spoon and squinting at a pot like it might bite him first. "You're early," he said without turning, though his lips twitched with a smile. "You're cooking," she said, teasing. "I wasn't sure that was legal." He turned then, mock offended. "For your information, I've been told I make a mean stew." "By who? Nova?" Nova smirked from the couch. "Only after I fixed it." The rest of the pack filled the cabin with easy noise. Leo by the window with a guitar on his knee, Cashin setting out plates, and a few others. They greeted her with warmth and curiosity, all the teasing softened by genuine affection for their alphas chosen. Dinner was chaotic and loud, the table overflowing with mismatched dishes, roasted vegetables, bread, something that looked suspiciously like an overcooked roast, and Mira's dessert in the center like a peace treaty. Abir, who'd tagged along, sat between Leo and Cashin, giggling as they showed him how to fold napkins into wolves. Mira found herself laughing, too, the tension of the past weeks loosening from her chest. Every so often, her gaze drifted to Izek, sleeves still rolled, forearms flexing as he poured drinks or cut bread. There was something different about him tonight, quieter, more reflective beneath the laughter. When the table was cleared, Nova nudged Leo, and the guitar's soft notes filled the cabin. The pack sang a low, haunting tune, an old Valnyra song, Mira learned later, one meant to honor the moon's first light. As the melody faded, Mira turned to Izek. "You never told me you could cook and sing," she teased. He chuckled, shaking his head. "That wasn't me singing. Trust me, you'd know." Something about his smile felt tender. Nova glanced between them, smirk tugging at her lips. "You didn't tell her?" she asked Izek. He shot her a warning look, but she only raised a brow. "Oh, don't you dare glare at me, Alpha. She deserves to know." Mira frowned. "Know what?" Izek sighed, rubbing the back of his neck. "It's nothing." "It's his birthday. It's the 7th of April," Nova blurted, earning a groan from Izek. Mira blinked. "What?" "Today," Nova confirmed, grinning. The big secret he apparently didn't want to share. The room burst into laughter, and Izek glared half-heartedly before muttering, "You're all impossible." Mira stared at him, warmth and disbelief mingling in her chest. "You invited me for dinner on your birthday and didn't say anything." He shrugged, that boyish half-smile ghosting over his lips. "Didn't want anything from anyone." His eyes found hers, steady, golden, unguarded. "Except maybe your company." The noise in the cabin faded in her ears. For a moment, it felt like the world shrank to just that, the golden hue of his eyes, the quiet sincerity in his voice, and the way her heart skipped like it had been waiting for those words all along. She smiled, small and soft. "You're terrible at birthdays, you know that." He tilted his head. "Then maybe you'll teach me how to celebrate." Maybe I will, she said, cheeks warming. But next time I'm baking the cake. He leaned closer, his voice dropping to that low, husky tone that always made her pulse jump. You can bake me whatever you want, as long as you're there to share it. Nova coughed loudly from the couch. Get a room, you two. The cabin erupted with laughter again. Myra rolled her eyes, but she couldn't stop smiling. For the first time in a long time, she felt something she hadn't dared to feel home. Around the long wooden table sat the 12 who made up Izek's pack. His family, his strength, his curse. The room went still. Then Jerk let out a low whistle. So this is the human who has our alpha sneaking off every night. Watch it, Izek muttered from across the room, but the corners of his mouth lifted despite himself. Jerk laughed, a booming sound that shook the table. Beside him, his mate Vera rolled her eyes. Ignore him, Myra. He thinks he's funny because no one else does. Myra smiled shyly. Nice to finally meet you all. I've heard nothing about the pack. Nothing, Cade leaned forward with a teasing smirk. Then we've been doing our job right. Which one, that? Myra asked. Staying invisible, Cashin said smoothly, his blue eyes catching firelight like glass. Until we don't want to be. Myra tried to laugh, but the weight in his voice sent a chill through her. She glanced at Izek, who gave her a small, reassuring nod. Dinner began in a blur of motion. Plates passed down the table, laughter echoing, the crackle of bread being torn and shared. Abir, perched between Alara and Fen, listened wide-eyed as they told him stories about wolves who ran so fast, they blurred into mist. They're just stories, right? Myra asked, half smiling. Alara's eyes, dark as midnight, lifted to hers. Every story starts as truth once. Across the table, Lyra Vale's knife clinked against her plate. The silver-haired beta's expression was unreadable as she said, "Some truths should stay buried." Jerk snorted, like the ones about alphas falling for humans. The table went silent for a fraction too long. Izek's gaze snapped to him, sharp warning. That's enough. But Vera only shrugged, smirking as she leaned back in her chair. Relax, Alpha. We're just talking legends. You know the old saying, when the wolf loves the flame, both burn. Nova shot her a look. That's enough out of you, too. She turned to Myra with a softer smile. They're just trying to scare you. It's an old Valnyra myth, wolves who broke their vows to the moon by loving outside the bloodline. What happened to them? Myra asked quietly. Cade's voice was low, almost reverent. Depends who you ask. Some say the vampires found them first. Others say the moon herself turned away from them. Myra swallowed, the words lingering like fog in her chest. To lighten the air, Jerk lifted his glass. To the alphas cooking, and to the poor souls brave enough to eat it. Laughter erupted again, breaking the tension. Myra caught Izek's eye, smiling as he rubbed the back of his neck in mock defeat. Not bad for someone who survives on canned food and Nova's leftovers, Vera teased. I'll take that as a compliment, Izek said dryly, earning another round of laughter. Fen, the tracker, leaned toward Myra with a half grin. You should see him hunt, though. Cooking's not his strength, but tracking. He could find a heartbeat in a hurricane. Cashin added, or a lost alpha when he runs off in the middle of a storm. I wasn't lost, Izek shot back. Lyra smirked faintly. You were, we all know it. The banter felt warm, alive, a rhythm of people who'd bled together and survived. Myra listened, her gaze drifting from one face to the next, seeing the stories beneath the laughter, Lyra's grief behind her calm eyes, Fen's half-blind gaze that still missed nothing, Nova's gentle hands that carried both healing and loss. Even young Alex, seated at the far end, barely 20, smiled nervously when Abir asked if he could turn into a wolf, right now. Not indoors, Alex chuckled. Izek would kill me for the mess. Izek smirked. You're not wrong. By the time dessert arrived, Myra's cinnamon bread pudding, the mood had softened. She passed around bowls, earning murmured praise and playful teasing. When Lyra quietly stood to refill her drink, Nova leaned toward Myra and whispered, You've done well, you know. They don't take to outsiders easily. Mira smiled faintly. Is that what I am, an outsider? Nova's gaze softened. Not to him. She nodded toward Izek, who was listening to Abir chatter about toy cars with unguarded amusement. But that's what makes it dangerous. Mira frowned. Dangerous. Nova hesitated. Love has always been the Vilnaira's greatest strength, and their undoing. Before Mira could ask more, Jerk called out for music again, and Nova's quiet warning was lost beneath the hum of voices and the crackling fire. As the night wound down, Mira found herself seated beside Izek near the hearth, the warmth of the fire flickering against his face. She looked around the cabin, the laughter, the worn furniture, the half-finished plates, and felt something shift inside her. For the first time, she wasn't just a visitor in his world. She was part of it. But somewhere, beneath the warmth and the laughter, the legends whispered still. When the wolf loves the flame, both burn. The laughter had faded, lingering only in the walls like the last echo of warmth. The table was a mess of empty plates, wine glasses half drained, and crumbs of the roast that Mira had helped slice. One by one, the pack had drifted off, Nova and Vera still whispering near the fire, Jerk slumped asleep in a chair, and Lyra herding the younger ones toward the door with a gruff. Let the alpha breathe for once. Now it was just the two of them. Mira stacked plates quietly, her fingers brushing Izek's once as he reached for the same glass. The contact sent a quiet shock through her, soft but impossible to ignore. You don't have to help, Izek said, his voice low, roughened by the night. I want to, she replied simply. It's the least I can do. You cooked after all. He huffed a quiet laugh. Barely. Nova saved half of it. I think I almost poisoned Jerk with the seasoning. You didn't, she teased. It was actually really good. Don't lie. I'm not. Her smile curved, that dimple appearing, soft as moonlight. It tasted like effort. He leaned against the counter, arms folded, watching her move around his cluttered kitchen, the same way she had the first time she'd cooked for him. The glow from the hanging lanterns painted her skin in gold and shadow, her hair glinting dark against her cheek. Something about the sight her here, in his space, felt dangerously right. When she turned, he was holding something in his palm, a small, glinting object that caught the firelight. I wanted to give you this, he said, his tone quieter now, careful. She frowned lightly, stepping closer. What is it? He lifted it, a pendant, shaped like a golden sun, small but beautifully intricate, its edges carved with runic markings she didn't recognize. It was my mother, Izek said. She used to say the sun belonged to those who carried warmth, even when the world turned cold. I think she would have liked you. Myra's lips parted, her breath catching. Izek, I don't have anything for you. I didn't even know it was your birthday. He smiled faintly, shaking his head. Good, I didn't want you to know. Why? Because this is enough. His voice dropped to a whisper. You're here, that's everything I've ever needed. He stepped closer and gently fastened the pendant around her neck, his fingers brushing her skin. The metal was warm, or maybe it was his touch that was. For a moment, neither spoke. The air between them hummed, heavy and electric. She looked up at him, eyes soft. The others, they kept talking about old laws, about how it's dangerous for wolves to love humans. What did they mean? His jaw tightened slightly. Old stories, he said quickly. Legends, don't listen to them. Izek. They're just trying to protect what's left of us, he cut in gently. That's all. But his gaze had shifted, distant for just a heartbeat, as if he were seeing ghosts. She wanted to press further, to ask why his voice sounded like regret. But then his hand came to rest on her cheek, and her thoughts scattered. Thank you, she whispered. For what? For letting me in. He smiled, small, real. You didn't ask permission. And then, under the silver spill of moonlight through the window, he kissed her cheek, slow, certain, and full of everything neither of them could yet say aloud. Outside, the forest breathed, the wind moving through the trees like a sigh, as if even the night knew something forbidden, beautiful, and fated had begun. That night the rain came harder, thunder low and rolling across the hills. The power flickered once, then went out entirely. Abir was asleep, and the house was wrapped in the quiet hum of rain and darkness. Mira lit a lantern, its glow soft and golden. "Guess it's you and me," she said, looking at Izek, who came to walk her home but stayed. He sat on the floor near the hearth, watching the flames grow. "You should rest." "I will, later." She sank down across from him, legs folded beneath her. "Tell me something, anything." He hesitated, then said, "When I was little, my father used to tell me the forest remembers everything. Every scent, every heartbeat. That's why wolves never really get lost." Mira smiled faintly. "Is that true?" "It is to me." He met her eyes across the fire, and for a second she saw something behind them, sorrow, maybe, or memory. She wanted to ask, but the words caught in her throat. Instead, she said softly, "You talk like someone who's lived more than 19 years. He laughed under his breath. Isaac's quiet laugh faded, replaced by a thoughtful silence. He stared into the fire for a long moment before speaking again. "That's because," he rubbed the back of his neck, clearly uncomfortable, "I'm not actually 19. Mira blinked. "What?" He looked up at her with an apologetic smile. "I'm 33. For a second, she simply stared at him, certain she had misheard. 33, she repeated, her eyes scanning his face. "Izek, you don't even look 21. A faint chuckle escaped him. "That's one of the reasons I lied. I didn't want to freak you out. I thought if I told you I was 33 right away, you'd think I was either joking or hiding something much worse. Saying I was 19 just seemed easier." Mira shook her head, still trying to process it before a relieved smile spread across her face. "You know, that actually gives me some peace of mind." "It does." She nodded. "Well, yes. Ever since you told me you were 19, a tiny part of me kept wondering if I was losing my mind for being attracted to someone so much younger than me. I kept reminding myself you were an adult, but it still felt strange sometimes. Knowing you're actually an adult makes me feel a whole lot better." A genuine laugh escaped Izek, the tension in his shoulders easing. "But how?" she asked, curiosity replacing her surprise. "How can someone who's 33 look this young?" "Werewolves don't age the way humans do," he explained. "Our bodies mature normally until we're adults, but after that, aging slows dramatically. Roughly speaking, every 5 human years are like 1 year for us. We can live for centuries if nothing kills us first. So, while I'm 33, my body has only aged a few years beyond full maturity." Mira leaned back against the sofa, letting the information sink in. "That explains everything." He gave a small nod. "I should have told you the truth from the beginning." She smiled knowingly. "Izek, I watched you turn into a giant wolf in front of my eyes. That didn't freak me out. Why would your age?" A faint blush crept across his cheeks, and he looked away, suddenly fascinated by the wooden floor. "Because," he admitted quietly, "I get nervous around you. I've never felt this way about anyone before. In 33 years, I fought rogue wolves, stood against hunters, and faced things most people couldn't imagine without my heart racing. But sitting here with you," he smiled sheepishly, "you somehow make me more nervous than all of them combined." Mira's expression softened. She reached across the space between them and gently rested her hand over his. "I think that's probably the sweetest thing anyone's ever said to me." The fire cracked, and for a moment it felt like the world outside didn't exist. For a few moments, neither spoke. The silence wasn't uncomfortable anymore. It had become familiar, peaceful. "You've probably noticed I don't talk much about my past," Mira said quietly, tracing circles along the rim of her mug. "It's not because I want to hide it. I just spent years wishing I could forget it." She looked toward the staircase where Abir slept before continuing. "I grew up in Pakistan and studied computer science in Islamabad. I worked harder than anyone I knew because I dreamed of seeing the world. When I received a scholarship to study in America, I cried for hours. It felt impossible, like my entire future had suddenly opened in front of me." A small smile crossed her face before fatting again. "That's where I met Armin. At first, he was charming, supportive, the kind of man who made everyone laugh. After we married, everything changed. Little by little, he became controlling. He decided who I could speak to, what I could wear, where I could go. Eventually, the shouting turned into bruises he always apologized for the next morning. Her voice trembled but never broke. When Abir was born, I stayed because I thought a child deserved both parents. Then one night I realized my son was learning that fear was normal. That was the day I decided to leave. It took longer than I wanted, but I finally found the courage. She looked directly at Izek, her brown eyes reflecting the warm light. Coming to Ravenshade wasn't just accepting a job, it was choosing to live again. Izek stared quietly into his coffee for several seconds before answering. "You're stronger than you think." His voice was low and steady. "I don't know what it's like to have a partner like that, but I know what it's like to lose your home in a single night." He rubbed the back of his neck, something he always did when memories became difficult. "After my father died, everyone expected me to become alpha overnight. I was 13. I barely understood what being an alpha meant. One mistake could get someone killed." He gave a dry laugh. "Most days I still feel like that careless 19-year-old everyone expects to have all the answers." Mira smiled softly, and he continued. "Working on engines helps. Fixing trucks, rebuilding motorcycles. They make sense. Machines don't lie. If something's broken, you find the problem and repair it. I fish when I need to think. Sometimes I disappear into the forest for hours just to hear the wind instead of people arguing. Music helps too, though I'd never admit that to Jerk." Mira laughed for the first time that evening, and the sound made him smile without realizing it. "What about you? Besides making coffee, that's way better than mine." "I read whenever I have time," Mira admitted with a grin. "Mostly fantasy novels. I garden, even though half my plants seem determined to die. I bake when I'm stressed, and..." She let out a sheepish laugh. "I'm ridiculously competitive." Izek raised an eyebrow. "Competitive?" She nodded. "Very. If I decide to learn something, I can't stop until I get good at it. Growing up, I always wanted to be the best in my class. Later it became cooking, baking, programming, even gardening." She glanced at the drooping fern in the corner of the room and sighed dramatically. "That one is currently winning our battle." A laugh escaped Izek before he could stop it. "I don't know why," Mira continued, smiling, "but I always feel like I have to perfect almost everything I do. Sometimes it's exhausting. If I make a cake and it's only good, I'll spend the next week trying to bake a better one. If I learn a new recipe, I keep making it until it's exactly how I imagined. Even when I was studying computer science, I'd rewrite my code over and over until I thought it was perfect." "So you're telling me," Izek said with an amused smirk, "that losing isn't an option?" "Oh, I hate losing," she admitted with mock seriousness, "even if I'm only competing against myself. And," she added, laughing quietly, "I talk to myself while cleaning the house. It helps me think." "I noticed," Izek teased. "Yesterday you spent 10 minutes arguing with a frying pan." Mira covered her face with both hands, groaning in embarrassment. "You heard that." The windows were open. "Oh no." "I've got to admit," he said, unable to hide his grin, "the frying pan made some solid points." She burst into laughter, gently nudging his shoulder. "You're impossible. And you're entertaining." They both laughed until tears gathered in the corners of Mira's eyes. When the room finally grew quiet again, neither felt like strangers anymore. Outside, the forest whispered beneath the moon, but inside the little cottage there was only warmth, shared stories, and the comforting feeling that two wounded hearts had taken their first real step toward healing together. The laughter slowly faded, leaving behind a comfortable silence that settled over the little cottage. The fire crackled softly in the corner while rain continued to patter against the windows. Mira glanced toward the staircase, listening for any sound from Abir's room. Everything was quiet. Izek rested his hands on his knees before letting out a slow breath. "I should probably get going," he said, his voice gentle. "It's late." He pushed himself to his feet, smoothing the wrinkles from his jacket. Mira looked up at him, suddenly feeling that the room seemed much larger than it had only moments before. "So soon?" she asked. A faint smile tugged at the corner of his lips. "If I stay much longer," he replied, rubbing the back of his neck. "Nova's going to assume I got eaten by a bear." "You'd probably scare the bear away." "I'd like to think so." He chuckled softly and reached for the front door. Myra. She stood as well, instinctively taking a step toward him. Before she could think twice, the words slipped out. Stay. The single word hung between them. Izek stopped with his hand resting on the doorknob but didn't turn immediately. For a long moment, only the sound of rain filled the silence. When he finally looked back at her, his amber eyes searched hers, as if trying to understand whether she'd really meant it. You sure? He asked quietly. She nodded. I don't mean forever, she said with a nervous laugh. Just another minute. He let go of the doorknob and walked back toward her, his boots barely making a sound on the wooden floor. They stood only a few inches apart now. I've never been very good at saying what I'm feeling, Myra admitted, twisting the sleeve of her cream sweater between her fingers. But tonight was nice. It was, he agreed. I haven't laughed like that in a long time. His expression softened. I'm glad. Neither of them moved. The silence no longer felt uncertain. It felt full. Myra looked up into his ember-colored eyes. He was close enough that she could see the tiny freckles scattered across his nose and the faint scar near his jaw. For all the stories people told about the fierce alpha of Ravenshade, standing here, he simply looked like a 20-year-old carrying far more responsibility than anyone should. Izek. Oh, thank you. For what? For making this place feel less lonely. Something flickered across his face, surprise first, then quiet affection. Almost without thinking, he lifted a hand and gently brushed a loose strand of hair behind her ear. His fingers lingered for just a second before he hesitated, silently giving her the chance to pull away. She didn't. Instead, she closed the small distance between them. Their lips met in a slow, hesitant kiss. It wasn't rushed or dramatic. It was gentle. A question rather than an answer. Weeks of awkward smiles, shared coffees, teasing conversations, quiet understanding, and growing trust seemed to gather into that single moment. When they finally pulled apart, they remained close enough that their foreheads almost touched. Neither spoke. Neither needed to. Izek smiled, a real smile this time, one that reached his eyes. I should definitely leave now, he murmured with a quiet laugh. If I don't, I won't. Myra smiled back, her cheeks warm. I know. He squeezed her hand, once before reluctantly letting it go. Good night, Myra. Good night, Izek. He opened the front door, and cool night air drifted into the warm cottage. Before stepping outside, he looked back one last time. She was still standing exactly where he'd left her, smiling in the doorway. He returned the smile, gave a small wave, and walked across the moonlit field toward his cabin, disappearing into the silver glow of the night. Myra remained at the doorway until he was no longer visible. Only then did she gently close the door, rest her forehead against the cool wood, and let out a quiet, happy laugh. For the first time in years, the house didn't feel empty. It felt like the beginning of something she had almost forgot was possible. The morning after the dinner at Izek's, Ravenshade felt softer. Mist still clung to the trees, and the scent of rain hung in the air like a promise. Myra found herself outside Nova's house, the small, ivy-draped cottage that sat just beyond the line of pines, across the field from Izek's cabin. She hesitated before knocking, clutching a small jar in her hand, something she'd made late last night. A peace offering, she thought, or maybe a beginning. The door swung open before she could knock twice. Myra, Nova's warm voice carried out, her golden brown hair tied in a loose braid, hands smudged with herbs. You're early. Come in before the wind eats you alive. Inside, the air smelled of sage, mint, and honey. Dried flowers hung from the rafters. Books and glass jars lined the shelves. It felt like stepping into another world, one both ancient and alive. I brought you this, Myra said shyly, offering the jar. It's honey and lemon for tea. My mom used to make it whenever I couldn't sleep. Nova smiled, eyes kind. Then it's perfect. You've no idea how much the pack keeps me awake. She winked, setting it on the counter. Sit, you like tea. Myra laughed. "I'm starting to think it's impossible not to like tea around you people." They spent the morning talking, at first about small things. How Myra was settling in, how Abir was adjusting, how strange it felt living near the forest. But slowly, the walls began to drop. Nova listened like few people did, with real stillness. And Myra, without realizing it, began to tell her things she hadn't told anyone. How she felt drawn to Ravenshade, to the quiet and the mystery of it. How sometimes she swore she felt watched, but not in a frightening way, more like something was waiting for her to notice it. Nova's eyes softened. "The forest has eyes, Myra, but not all eyes mean harm. Sometimes they're just curious." They sat by the window, watching the mist roll back over the trees. Nova spoke about her brother, her twin, and how losing him had nearly destroyed her. "But healing isn't just what I do," she said, turning her palms up, faint light shimmering between them. "It's what I am. It's how I survive." Myra reached across the table, touching her hand gently. "Maybe that's why you and I met." "Maybe it is," Nova said, smiling. "You have a light in you too, Myra. One the shadows can't touch, not even his." Myra blinked. "His?" Nova's gaze flickered, the smile fading for half a breath. "Izek," she said softly. "He's different around you. I haven't seen him look like that in years. Just be careful, okay? The moon watches all of us, but it doesn't always protect what it loves." The words lingered. Like a whisper, the wind refused to carry away. Outside, the first rays of sunlight broke through the clouds, painting the damp grass in gold. Myra looked at Nova then, this gentle, steady woman who carried so much loss but still smiled like dawn itself, and felt something tighten in her chest. For the first time in a long while, she felt like she had found a friend. Someone who saw her, not as fragile, not as an outsider, but as part of something greater, something both dangerous and beautiful. When Myra had first told her mother about Ravenshade, her tone had carried a lightness her mother hadn't heard in years. She spoke about the misty forests, the quaint town life, and most of all about Izek. At first, she mentioned him casually, but soon his name began to slip into every conversation. Her mother would tease her gently, asking, "So this Izek again?" And Myra would blush even over the phone. Of course, after Abir had told her everything about wolves and kindergarten, he adored his Nana. Her mother's voice had softened then, a mixture of surprise and worry, but also something else, hope. Even from miles away, she could sense her daughter's heart had finally found peace again, and that was enough for her to listen, week after week, to Myra's stories of the mysterious boy of Ravenshade. A few days later, she caught him outside the market, holding a bag of oranges she hadn't realized she'd dropped. "Following me again," she teased. He held up the bag. "You're terrible at carrying things." "Excuse me, I'm multitasking. That's an advanced skill." He handed her the oranges, his hand brushing her wrist, steady, deliberate this time. "You shouldn't walk home alone so late." She arched an eyebrow. "I've lived alone for years, you know." "I know," his voice softened. "That doesn't mean you have to." Her chest tightened just a little. They walked home together, their steps falling in rhythm. The streets glowed with the golden haze of lamps through the mist. Once, their shoulders brushed lightly, barely there, but it sent a quiet current through her all the same. Sometimes they didn't talk at all. They'd sit on the porch steps while Abir played nearby, the air filled with the sound of his laughter and the distant rustle of leaves. Myra would sip her tea. Izek would sit beside her, elbows resting on his knees, eyes on the horizon. She found peace in that, in the stillness between them, the safety that needed no words. Once she dozed off against the railing. When she woke, she found a blanket draped over her shoulders and Izek sitting quietly beside her, watching the fading light. "You didn't have to." "I know," he said. Something unspoken lingered in that small kindness, heavier than any confession could be. It was nearly evening when they found themselves walking through the forest trail near the edge of Ravenshade. The trees were thick, the air damp, the scent of pines strong and wild. Myra paused, listening to the hush of the woods. "It's beautiful here," she said. "Home," he murmured. She turned to look at him, the way the dim light caught his features. "You really love this place." "I grew up in it," he said. "It's in my blood." Something about the way he said it made her heart ache, like he belonged to something deeper, something ancient. A breeze stirred her hair. He reached out, gently tucking a loose strand behind her ear. His touch lingered a heartbeat too long. Myra's pulse raced. "You really shouldn't do that." "Do what?" he asked, voice low. "Make it so hard to think straight." His smile was slow, almost sad. "Then don't think." And for one dangerous, perfect second, she almost didn't. The next evening, Ravenshade lay wrapped in a velvet fog. The scent of rain still clung to the air, mingled with pine and wood smoke. The forest that bordered the town looked almost alive, shadows rippling, leaves whispering in a language older than memory. Myra hadn't planned to see Izek again so soon. She promised herself space, time, logic. But logic had never stood a chance against the memory of his eyes beneath the storm. That quiet, storm-tethered strength. The way he'd looked at her as though he saw past her skin, straight into something wordless and waiting. So when her phone buzzed with his message, "Got that car part you needed. If you're free, I can install it tonight." She told herself it was just about the car, nothing more. She told herself that twice. By the time she arrived, the sun had already dipped low. The garage lights spilled soft gold across the cracked pavement, and there he was leaning against the doorway, arms crossed, hair damp from a recent shower. A black t-shirt clung to his shoulders, grease still under his nails, like even the rain couldn't quite wash away the work from his hands. "You're late," he said, a teasing smile tugging at the corner of his mouth. She blinked. "Sorry, Julie just showed up." She glanced at Izek with an apologetic smile. Julie, Abir's babysitter. Myra hired her about a week after moving to Ravenshade. Work became busier than expected, and she didn't know anyone in town, so she asked around for recommendations. Everyone kept mentioning Julie. Julie was in her mid-20s, with chestnut brown hair gathered into a loose braid, kind hazel eyes, and the sort of gentle smile that instantly put both children and adults at ease. She worked as a teaching assistant at the local primary school during the day and babysat for several families in the evenings. Patient, dependable, and endlessly creative, she could turn an ordinary bedtime into an adventure with stories she invented on the spot. It hadn't taken long for Abir to become attached to her. Whenever Julie visited, he greeted her with an excited hug and immediately asked which story they were going to read that night. When he leaned under the hood again, she couldn't help but watch him, the focus in his movements, the way his hair fell over his forehead, the small scar near his temple she'd never noticed before. There was a steadiness to him that she found grounding, like standing near him made her less afraid of the world. After a few minutes, he said, without looking up, "So, I've been thinking." "That sounds unusual," she said lightly, folding her arms. He chuckled, a low sound that did something strange to her chest. "You think I'm some kind of caveman, huh?" "Not a caveman," she said, pretending to consider. "Just mysterious, moody." He laughed, an honest, warm laugh that she hadn't heard from him before. It loosened something between them. For a moment, the air wasn't heavy with secrets or tension, just laughter, easy and real. When it faded, they were both smiling in the quiet that followed. "You're not like most people in Ravenshade," he said softly. "Is that a good thing?" "It's dangerous," he said after a beat. "But yes, it's good." Izek offered her coffee, strong, black, the kind that clung to the air. They sat near the open bay door, watching the fog roll in from the hills. The silence between them wasn't awkward now, it was comfortable. Like something old had settled between them, familiar, steady, inevitable. She glanced at him, his face lit by the dim amber light. "You say it's dangerous," she murmured, "but you keep showing up when I need help." He looked down into his mug, his thumb tracing the rim. "Maybe I don't know how to stay away." Her chest tightened. "That doesn't sound like a bad thing." "It is," he said quietly, eyes meeting hers. "Because I don't want to hurt you, Myra." "You won't. You don't know that." I don't need to. Her voice was steady now, gentle but sure. I just know you. For a moment, everything stilled, the hum of the town, the whisper of the trees, even the night itself seemed to listen. And then, without quite meaning to, he reached out. His hand brushed a raindrop from her cheek, fingertips lingering. Her breath hitched, but she didn't move away. The space between them folded in, fragile. When his thumb traced her jaw, her heart stuttered. He froze, as if realizing how close he was, but before either of them could think their way out of it, she leaned in. The kiss was soft, hesitant at first, then certain. It tasted of rain and warmth and everything neither of them could say. His hand slid to the back of her neck, gentle, protective. Hers rested against his chest, feeling the steady rhythm of his heart, strong, sure, painfully real. When they finally broke apart, the silence between them felt alive. I shouldn't have done that, he whispered. I know, she said, breathless. Do it again anyway. He smiled then, the kind of smile that melted through every wall he'd built. And for a brief, impossible moment, the world outside the garage didn't exist. That night, after she left, Izek sat where she'd been sitting, staring out into the fog. He could still feel the warmth of her hand on his chest, still taste her breath in the air. He knew it was dangerous. He also knew he wouldn't stop. The next few days passed like a dream Mira didn't want to wake from. She told herself it was just a moment, one slip under the rain, one kiss stolen between silence and thunder, but her heart refused to believe her. Every night, her mind replayed it, the way his touch had felt both gentle and sure, like he'd been waiting centuries just to brush his lips against hers. She didn't tell anyone. Not Nova, not even her reflection. It felt sacred somehow, something she wasn't ready to let the world have. But Ravenshade was small. Secrets never stayed secrets for long. On the third evening after the storm, when the fog rolled back over the valley, Mira had left Abir with Julie. Something about tonight had felt important, inevitable even. She found herself driving toward the edge of town again. She didn't know why, or maybe she did. Her heart seemed to know the way before her hands did. The road curved through the forest, mist rising from the asphalt like breath. The garage lights were off this time. But she could hear laughter, deep, rough, familiar, somewhere behind the building. She followed the sound. A trail led down toward a clearing at the edge of the woods. The scent of wood smoke drifted through the air, and voices, low, teasing, half wild, rose in rhythm with the crackling fire. And then she saw them. 4 figures gathered around a bonfire. Izek among them. He was laughing, a real, unguarded laugh that reached his eyes, made his face softer, younger. The others, Cashin, Jarak, and Nova, looked cut from the same untamed cloth, broad-shouldered, easy-moving, with an energy that hummed just beneath their skin. The kind of people who carried the night inside them. Mira froze at the edge of the clearing. Izek noticed her first. His posture shifted, alert, protective, but not alarmed. When their eyes met, that invisible thread between them pulled taut again. Mira, he said softly, motioning her closer. You found us. Nova by the fire arched an eyebrow. Us, she said, smirking. She is us now, isn't she, Zek? Jarak added, grinning. Guess we should be honored. Mira hesitated, then stepped into the light. The warmth of the fire hit her face, and with it, the scent of pine and smoke. She tucked a damp strand of hair behind her ear, smiling nervously. I didn't mean to interrupt. You didn't, Izek said quickly. His voice was calm, but there was a flicker of something else beneath it, pride, maybe, or something softer. This is my pack. The word hung between them like a secret she'd half-guessed, but never said aloud. Then Nova rose gracefully, her long brown braid glinting with shine. So, Mira, she said, he's been pretending not to talk about you. Izek groaned. Nova. What? She said innocently. We all have eyes. The others laughed. Mira felt her cheeks flush, but there was no cruelty in their amusement, only curiosity, the kind that comes from people who have spent too long outside the normal world. She nodded shyly. It's nice to see you all. Izek motioned for her to sit beside him on a fallen log. The fire danced over his face, tracing gold along his cheekbones. The others returned to their conversation, laughter echoing softly through the trees. A silence stretched between them, the comfortable kind. She could feel the warmth of his arm beside hers, the faint brush of his sleeve against her hand. The fire popped. Sparks lifted into the night like stars escaping gravity. After a moment, Cashin looked across the flames and said, "So, Mira, you're the computer girl, right? You work in the IT office near the docks." "That's me," Mira said with a small laugh. "I'm surprised you know." "Small town," Jarek said with a grin. "Everybody knows who's new, especially if they hang around our fearless leader here." Izek shot him a warning glance. "Enough." "What?" Jarek said innocently. "We're just getting to know her." Cashin leaned back, smirking. "Relax, Zek, we're just teasing." Nova grinned. "Besides, it's cute. You finally found someone who can put up with your brooding." Izek muttered something under his breath that made Mira bite back a smile. The teasing continued, lighthearted, harmless, and Mira found herself laughing with them. It felt easy in a way she hadn't expected. Like she'd stepped into a world she didn't fully understand, but it somehow understood her. After a while, Cashin handed her a mug of something warm, spiced tea, rich and earthy. The fire glowed across everyone's faces. They told stories, some funny, some wild, some half-true, about life in Ravenshade, about moonlit hunts and small-town mischief. Mira listened, enchanted, her heart caught between awe and belonging. When she finally glanced at Izek, she caught him watching her instead of the fire. His expression was soft, unarmored, the kind of look that said you fit here, you just don't know it yet. The night deepened, the laughter quieted. Nova started humming under her breath, an old song, low and haunting. And for a moment, it felt like the forest itself leaned closer to listen. Izek turned to Mira. "You should get Abir to see this place someday," he murmured. "He'd love the woods." "I'd like that," she said, her voice gentle, "if you'd show us." His lips curved. "Always." And in that single word, there was more promise than she was ready to face. When Mira finally stood to leave, Nova pulled her into a quick, unexpected hug. "Take care of him," she whispered. "He pretends he doesn't need anyone, but he does." Mira blinked, taken aback. "I'll try." As she walked back toward her car, she glanced over her shoulder once more. Izek was still there, standing by the fire, watching her through the trees. For a moment, the night felt still, her heart loud in her chest, and she knew something had shifted between them again. Not a spark this time, but a slow, steady flame. The bonfire crackled and hissed, sending sparks spiraling into the night. Ravenshade's clearing was alive with laughter and music, the kind that carried through the trees, mingling with the scent of pine and smoke. Wolves and townsfolk alike had gathered to celebrate the turn of the season, a night of truce, warmth, and whispered stories. Mira stood near the edge of the light, a soft shawl wrapped around her shoulders. Her cheeks glowed from the fire, her hair catching glints of amber as she laughed quietly at something Nova said. Across the flames, Izek watched her, not like a predator or even a man possessed, but like someone afraid to blink in case the world shifted and she vanished. She felt his gaze before she saw him. It was impossible not to. There was a gravity to it. Something that tugged at her, even when she pretended not to notice. When their eyes met, her heart gave that now familiar ache, the one that felt both terrifying and right. Nova caught it too. With a smirk, she nudged Izek's arm. "You gonna stand there all night staring at her like a ghost?" He scowled softly, but there was no heat behind it. "You're meddling again." "Someone has to," Nova said, grinning. "Besides, she looks good for you, softer. You haven't smiled like that in years." Before he could reply, Mira turned and began walking toward him. Her expression was shy but steady, her eyes catching reflections of the fire like liquid bronze. "I was wondering when you'd stop brooding and say hi," she teased lightly. "Wasn't brooding," he replied, though the faintest hint of a smile betrayed him. They drifted away from the crowd together, the noise fading behind them as they followed the path toward the edge of the forest. Above them, the moon had risen high, washing the trees in silver. The glow of the bonfire flickered faintly behind them, a warm memory receding into quiet. For a while, neither spoke. The silence between them was comfortable, almost fragile. Then Mira said softly, "It's strange. I've been here 4 months, and tonight feels like the first time I actually belong." Izek looked at her, his brow furrowing slightly. "You do belong." She smiled faintly. "Do I? Sometimes I feel like I'm still drifting. Like Ravenshade is beautiful, but it's not mine. I came here because I needed to start over, but starting over doesn't always mean you know where you're going." He was quiet for a moment, then said, "I know that feeling." Mira tilted her head toward him. "You do." He nodded. "When I lost my family, it felt like the ground itself didn't want me anymore. I kept moving, hunting, leading, pretending I was fine. But every place felt hollow until I stopped trying to belong and started just protecting what was left." She glanced up at him, eyes soft. "That's lonely." "It was," he hesitated. "It isn't anymore." Something in his voice made her breath catch, quiet and certain, as if he hadn't meant to confess it out loud. They reached her house, the porch light casting a warm glow over the steps. The world around them seemed to fade into stillness, only the chirp of crickets, the whisper of leaves. "Thank you for walking me home," Mira said, her voice barely above a whisper. "Always," Izek murmured. She turned to face him fully, the porch light catching her face, the faint curve of a smile tugging at her lips. "You make that sound like a promise." "It is." Her heart stuttered. There was that pull again, the magnetic, invisible thread that kept drawing her closer, even when reason told her to step back. Izek looked down at her, his eyes searching, uncertain. "You should go in. It's getting late." "I know." But neither of them moved. The silence between them thickened, electric. Mira felt her pulse climb, her thoughts blur into the simple awareness of how close he was, the scent of pine and smoke clinging to him, the steady rise and fall of his chest. "Izek," she whispered. "Yeah." Her words faltered, lost beneath the moment. Instead, she reached up, brushing her fingers against his sleeve, a small, hesitant touch that said more than words could. He caught her hand gently, his thumb brushing against her skin. The air seemed to hold its breath. Their eyes met, and something in both of them broke and mended at once. He leaned in, slow enough that she could stop him. She didn't. The kiss was softer this time, not fiery or desperate, but full of warmth and something deeper. When they parted, Mira's forehead rested against his chest, his hand still holding hers. "I don't know what this is," she whispered. "Me neither," he said, his voice low, "but I don't want it to end." They stood like that for a long while, beneath the hum of porch light and the pale glow of the moon. The night felt suspended, fragile and infinite. At last, Mira pulled back, a shy smile curving her lips. "Good night, Izek." "Good night, Mira." He didn't move until she was inside, until the door closed softly behind her. Only then did he let out the breath he'd been holding. As he turned to leave, he glanced back once, at the light spilling from her window, at the warmth that lingered in the air. And for the first time in years, Izek felt something like peace. Ravenshade had learned to live with silence. Fog rolled through the streets like memory, muffling everything. Footsteps, laughter, even the truth. But that week, silence felt heavier. Mira hadn't seen Izek for days. At first, she thought he was just busy. The garage lights had been off, his truck missing from its usual spot near the woods. But by the 5th evening, the quiet began to feel wrong, stretched thin, like something waiting to snap. Julie noticed her restlessness. "You've been checking the window every 5 minutes," she teased gently as she helped Abir with his dinner. Mira smiled weakly. "I'm just expecting someone." Julie raised a brow but said nothing more. When she left for the night, the house felt too still again. The walls seemed to hold their breath with her. Then, as Mira stood by the sink, she saw a flicker of movement near the trees. A shadow large, fast, wrong. Her heart stumbled. She turned off the lights, pressing closer to the window. The shape moved again, low and fluid, like something that didn't belong to a man. For a second, golden eyes flashed through the dark, wild and burning. Then it was gone. Mira stepped back, trembling. She wanted to believe she imagined it. But part of her knew she hadn't. Please subscribe, like and comment your thoughts about Moonbound. Thank you for listening.